Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has sent a strong message to Iran saying you will pay for these attacks from the Houthi rebels. This is the most clear and direct statement that has been made from Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, to Iran since the Houthi rebels have started attacking ships, have started attacking other vessels in the Persian Gulf. And at the time of this video being made, just a few days ago, an F18 fell off of the Harry S. Truman as the Harry S. Truman was executing evasive maneuvers to evade Houthi threats, whether that was a Houthi anti-ship ballistic missile, Houthi drones, other assets that Iran has given to the Houthis. Certain missiles can reach out and touch the carrier strike group, but there's different nets that are built to protect the carrier strike group. But if enough of them add up, if there's too many of them, or if it's an advanced threat, like a new technology emerging from Iran, maybe that's a reason for Pete Hegseth to basically lay it all out, lay it on the table and say, look, this is no longer a you-know-what measuring contest. We all know what you're doing, and there will be consequences. So in this video, we'll dive into the threats. What was likely shot at the Harry S. Truman? How many of them were shot? What was going on to make the Harry S. Truman have to zigzag, use the Heisman maneuver, try to stiff arm these threats, and maneuver? If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know that these massive aircraft carriers can maneuver like a boss. And the Harry S. Truman was doing just that. It was changing its heading 30 to 40 degrees in under 30 seconds, changing its place in the sea by 200 yards or more over the course of a minute or two. These things are beasts in the way that they move. But obviously you don't want to have to do this. I mean, you don't want to have to put the ship in a position where this is going on, because as an air wing, you're constantly moving. You're moving jets, you're testing jets, you're moving weapons. So evasive maneuvers like this is a literal emergency parachute, last line of defense. We'll talk about those other lines of defenses, but first, let's talk about Pete Hegseth's post on X. He said in a message to Iran, "We see your lethal support to the Houthis. We know exactly what you're doing. You know very well what the US military is capable of, and you were warned. You will pay the consequence at the time and place of our choosing." So again, all these things are coming to light, right? Like the Houthi oil port that was supplying illegal fuel to the Houthis and money to the Houthis was destroyed. Now, the source. What is the source of all these weapons? Well, looking at this map of the Persian Gulf, this is the different range that the Iranian drones can reach from Yemen. So you can obviously see that all these drones, from the Shahed 131, the Samad, the Shahed 136, which would be their more advanced drone, those can all reach out and touch the carrier strike group, or they need to be countered. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard, basically Iran's special forces, are smuggling in these illegal weapons to the Houthis. They're smuggling them in, and then they're just painting over the Iranian flag. Hey, don't mind the fact that you can still kind of see the Iranian flag. That's just a coincidence. Yeah, these are definitely Houthi weapons. No big deal. So Iran is smuggling in these advanced weapons, these advanced drones, and now they're being used against the carrier strike group. And the Secretary of Defense is coming out in no uncertain terms, and he's saying there will be consequences. So what can we expect moving forward? Well, we can expect a heightened level of defense from the carrier strike group. So let's talk about the different nets, the different layers that protect against drones just like this. So the outer net would be DCA, defensive counter-air. That'd be EA-18G Growlers, FA-18Es and Fs, and F-35Cs, which can target cruise missiles and these drones. The middle net is going to be SM-2 missiles, advanced Sea Sparrow missiles that can be fired from the destroyers and other ships in the carrier strike group. And then the internet would be the Sea-Wiz phalanx, those machine guns, those rapid fire machine guns that have radar guidance that can shoot 30mm and 20mm cannons. They can shoot out drones the size of a football or bigger. So these are very capable, but they're the inner last line of defense prior to the zigzag maneuvers. And then that emergency parachute, that last thing, would be the zigzag maneuvers while the ship is jamming, while electronic attack is basically the overall umbrella that's put over that entire battle group. So the zigzag maneuvers, you don't want to use those, but you got them at the end of the day. So what threats were likely shot at the Harry S. Truman to make it have to do this dance? Well, we talked about the drones. The most capable one would be the Shahed 136. That's got that V look to it. It's got the shape that kind of looks like it's stealth. It's not exactly stealth, but probably lower observable than some of the other drones. And it's got a larger warhead and the longest range. So these can be jammed, but they're less susceptible to jamming than some of the other threats because they're the newest technology. And then this map shows the advanced missiles that Iran has given to the Houthis and ships to them. The Sakr air defense missiles going up against fighter jets. Then you got the Qarar, the Asif, the Birkin. the Tufan, and we'll talk about a more advanced one at the end of this video. But look at this ring. This shows that the carrier strike groups that are in the Persian Gulf are very susceptible to being within range of these Iranian weapons. So what was shot at the Harry S. Truman? That's what we got to get down to. We got to get to the bottom of that. Because if it had to evade like that last second, there was either a large amount of drones, a missile that was highly capable and wasn't susceptible to jamming, or a combination of both. So if that was happening, it was launched from Yemen, obviously. Iran at this point is not going to directly launch from their own country. They want plausible deniability. Yeah, just ignore that Iranian flag. That was just a coincidence. It was a mix-up. The Houthis accidentally painted that Iranian flag on their advanced missile systems. And all these different missiles, these different ranges of these missiles can be adapted to go against ships. And that is a big threat to the Harry S. Truman. So if multiple of these were launched from the Houthis, if they're just like, hey, at this point, we're getting struck so much, our command centers are getting hit on the daily, F-18s are rolling in, dropping huge bombs on us, we're going to launch as many of these as we can as soon as we get them from Iran. Like I said, if a shipment's coming in weekly, they've got 10 of these coming in a week, maybe they're just going to launch all 10 at once. So maybe it's a rapid fire type maneuver that the Houthis are using now, and that is harder for the Harry S. Truman to counter against. But now let's talk about the most advanced weapon. This one's scary. This one's literally something that you don't want to mess with. And that is the Fateh 313 missile. It's the most advanced Iranian missile. It was originally derived from Chinese technology. Weird. Oh, that's so weird. And then there was an arms embargo and Iran started to develop it themselves. But this one is the most advanced. It's got the biggest warhead on it, over 1,000-pound warhead, and the ability to reach out and touch merchant vessels. The Houthis have launched it against merchant vessels, but this one could do serious damage to the Harry S. Truman. So for some reason, these got up and airborne. Let's say multiple of these, 4 or 5 of these got up and airborne, and they're being jammed, they're being countered, but they're extremely fast, they're huge, so you just can't take the risk of these hitting the carrier strike group, especially hitting the Harry S. Truman, where they're projecting naval air power into Yemen. Strikes against the Houthis are originating from the Harry S. Truman, the Carl Vinson. You can't risk any of these even coming close to getting hit. So if the Fateh 313 was airborne, this is going to be the most advanced threat, and this is a serious threat. So to me, I think something more advanced like this was likely airborne if Pete Hegseth is going to come out and lay it down like he's laying it down, saying there will be consequences to Iran. And then President Trump on Truth Social, he said, let nobody be fooled. The hundreds of attacks being made by the Houthis, the sinister mobsters and thugs based in Yemen, who are hated by the Yemeni people, all emanate from and are created by Iran. Any further attack or retaliation by the Houthis will be met with great force, and there is no guarantee that the force will stop there. Iran has played the innocent victim of rogue terrorists from which they've lost control, but they haven't lost control. They're dictating every move, giving them the weapons, supplying them with money and highly sophisticated military equipment, and even so-called intelligence. Every shot fired by the Houthis will be looked upon from this point forward as being a shot fired from the weapon and leadership of Iran. And Iran will be held responsible and suffer the consequences, and those consequences will be dire. So as you can see, the gloves are off. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see an escalation of force. The Iranians potentially trying to get more sinister, potentially trying to hide these shipments even more. I don't expect these shipments to stop. And it could be for a couple different reasons. It could be because Iran just wants to continue to perpetuate instability in the Persian Gulf so that they can kind of pull the strings themselves. They want to be able to launch attacks on Israel. They want to be able to pretend that, oh, this wasn't us. We don't, oh man, these Houthis, gosh, they're like little chihuahuas. They just nip at everybody's heels. But, you know, how dare they do this? Meanwhile, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is like, here, take this. Here, Houthis, take this. Get out of here, kid. So the Harry S. Truman making that evasive maneuver, throwing that F-18 off of the hangar bay. And I wouldn't be surprised to see more of this, but it shows that the Houthis rebels attacks with Iran backing them, is effective, at least for a short term, of shutting down that naval air power. So what advances do we need? What do we need to counter these threats? We likely need some sort of high-powered microwave anti-drone capability on the Harry S. Truman. Hopefully that comes here soon. I'll do a video on that moving forward. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Most of all, please check out another video that'll pop up over here. We'll catch you in the next video. Have a great day.